Okay, and we are here. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Hi, Taco. Welcome in, welcome in. All right, let's go ahead and let's switch on over. And we're going to do some reading tonight. Welcome in, welcome in. All right, those of you who have not been here before, this is my bedroom. If you haven't been here, like I said, this is what my bedroom looks like. So welcome to my bedroom. I thought since we're gonna read, we can get nice and cozy and we can read in here. Let me go ahead and grab my book. All right. And if you could, guys, Kronu, welcome in, welcome in. How are you? Good morning. Superotzel, welcome in, how are you? Hi, hi, hi. Thank you for the care package. Fen, thank you so much for the daily check-in, or sorry, for the daily cafe order. And Superotzel, thank you so much for the daily cafe order. Good night. Good night, Fen. Have a good sleep. Rest well, rest well. It's cleaner than I thought. My room is always impeccable. How very fucking dare you. I keep a tidy room. A very tidy room. And that's just how it be. That is just how it be. Alright. Let's get cozy by the fireplace. And let's go ahead and let's get ready to read. If you guys can do me a favor, I am live over on my YouTube side. If you can open a tab on your computer, call dibs on the pillow. I mean, you could hi Bellmaster, thank you for the follow. You could use the pillow, but hold on, let me put the book away for half a second. And then let me show you guys my bedroom. So this is my room. I sit right there on that little chair by the fire. Not the bench, but the other one that's right here. I sit there, or I'll sit in the hanging chair, or I'll lay down in bed with the window open to get a nice look outside, outside into the cave, so I can read, have a nice little breeze, you know. Gotta ask, what are the little cats for? So that is our game, Bongo Cats. Anyone can play. It is a free game off of Steam, and the invite code is right there, so you just have to download the game and play. Hi, Bellmaster. So, we're going to be doing some reading tonight. You can see over here, we're going to be reading chapter 12 of Dracula. If you guys want to join us, you can. The link is pinned to the top of chat. And the only thing you have to do is lean back and listen while I read. If you don't want to read along, that is okay too. I will be doing all the reading. All of it. All of it. All of it. All of it. It's my night to read. Okay, let's get cozy. One more time. Let's take a deep breath. And exhale. And let's go ahead and let's settle in for some Dracula. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing good. Finished it. No, we're on chapter 12. We're not even halfway through, my friend. We're on chapter 12. We're going to try and get through 2 chapters tonight. And remember, while I'm reading, I will not be able to be looking at chat while I'm reading. I usually wait until we get to a good point for me to stop and look over. So if there's anything you want me to know right now, go ahead and say it now before I start. Otherwise, you will have to wait a little minute. Because I like to kind of do a clean read through. You're comfy now? You got your blankie? You got your pillow? Since I've read this one, it's so good so far. Going to lurk. Okay, Dry Dog. Hi, Gracie. Welcome in. Have a good lurk, Sailor. Enjoy your lurk. And don't forget to say goodnight. Otherwise, you won't get your forehead kisses. My message before the reading. You cute. Wow. Mons, ban them. Ban them, please. Just kidding. Alright. Let's go ahead and let's lock in. Chapter 12. Dr. Seward's Diary. 18th of September. I drove at once to Hillingham and arrived early. Keeping my cab at the gate, I went up the avenue alone. I knocked gently and rang as quietly as possible, for I feared to disturb Lucy or her mother and hoped to only bring a servant to the door. For a while, finding no response, I knocked and rang again. Still no answer. I cursed the laziness of the servants that they should lie in bed at such an hour, for it was now 10 o'clock, and so rang and knocked again, but more impatiently, but still without response. Hitherto I had blamed only the servants, but now a terrible fear began to assail me. What was this desolation but another link in the chain of doom, which seemed drawing tightness around us? Was it indeed a house of death to which I had come too late? I knew that minutes, even seconds of delay might mean hours of danger to Lucy if she had again one of those frightful relapses, and I went round the house to try if I could find some, by chance, an entry anywhere. I could find no means of ingress. Every window and door was fastened and locked, and I returned baffled to the porch. As I did so, I heard the rapid pit-patters of swiftly driven horses' foot. They stopped at the gate, and a few seconds later I met Van Helsing running up the avenue. When he saw me, he gasped out, "Then it was you. I just arrived. How is she? Are we too late? Did you not get my telegram?" I answered as quickly and cohesively as I could that I had only just got his telegram early in the morning. I had not lost a moment in coming here, and that I could not make anyone in the house hear me. He paused and raised his hat as he said solemnly, "Then I fear we are too late. God's will be done." But his unusual recuperative energy, he went on, "Come, if there be no way to open it, if there no way open to get in, we must make one. Time is all in all to us now." We went around to the back of the house, where there was a kitchen window. The professor took a small surgical saw from his case, and, handing it to me, pointed to the iron bars which guarded the window. I attacked them at once and had very soon cut through 3 of them. Then, with the long, thin knife, we pushed back the fastening to the sachets and opened the window. I helped the professor in and followed him. There was no one in the kitchen or in the servants' rooms, which were close at hand. We tried all the rooms as we went along, and in the dining room, dimly lit by rays of light through the shutters, found 4 servant women lying on the floor. There was no need to think them dead, for their stertorous breathing and the acrid smell of laudanum in the room left no doubt as to their condition. Van Helsing and I looked to each other, and we moved away as we said, "We can attend to them later." Then we ascended to Lucy's room. For an instant or two we paused at the door to listen, but there was no sound that we could hear. With white faces and trembling hands, we opened the door gently and entered the room. How shall I describe what we saw? On the bed lay 2 women, Lucy and her mother. The lighter lay furthest in, and she was covered in a white sheet, the edge of which had been blown back by the draft. By the draft through the broken window shone the drawn white face with the look of terror mixed upon it. By her side lay Lucy with a face white and still more drawn. The flowers which had been round her neck were found upon her mother's bosom, and her throat was bare, showing 2 little wounds which we had noticed before, but looking horribly white and mangled. Without a word, the professor bent over the bed, his head almost touching poor Lucy's breast. Then he gave a quick turn of his head, as of one who listens, and leaped to his feet. He cried out to me, "It is not yet too late. Quick, quick, bring the brandy." I flew downstairs and returned with it, taking care to smell and taste it, lest it too were drugged like the decanter of sherry which I found on the table. The maids were still breathing, but more restlessly, and I fancied that the narcotic was wearing off. I did not stay to make sure, but returned to Van Helsing. He rubbed the brandy, as on another occasion, on her lips and gums, on her wrist, and the palms of her hand. To me, he said, "I can do this, all that can be at present. You go wake those maids, flick them in the face with a wet towel, and flick them hard. Make them get heat and fire and a warm bed. This poor soul is nearly as cold as that besides her. She will need to be heated before we can do anything more." I went at once and found little difficulty in waking 3 of the women. The 4th was only a young girl, and the drug had evidently affected her more strongly, so I lifted her on the sofa and let her sleep. The others were dazed at first, but as remembrance came back to them, they cried and sobbed in a hysterical manner. I was stern with them, however, and I would not let them talk. I told them that one life was bad enough to lose, that if they delayed, they would sacrifice Miss Lucy. So, sobbing and crying, they went about their way, half clad as they were, and prepared fire and water. Fortunately, the kitchen had boiler fires that were still alive, and there was no lack of hot water. We got a bath and carried Lucy out as she was and placed her in it. Whilst we were busy chafing her limbs, there was a knock at the hall door. One of the maids ran off, hurried on some more clothes, and opened it. Then she returned and whispered to us that there was a gentleman who had come with a message from Mr. Holmwood. I bade her simply tell him that he must wait, for we could see no one now. She went away with the message, and, engrossed with her work, I clean forgot all about him. The last time the wolf broke the house windows for Dracula. Yes, so the last time, let me do a quick catch up. So the last time we were reading this, Dracula used a wolf at the local zoo to try and break into Lucy's house because of Van Helsing and the doctor both used garlic around the windows, around the doors, all around this house, and made a garland for Lucy to wear so that Dracula could, even if he got into the house, would not be able to stand the smell of all the garlic. But the night prior to what's happening to Lucy right now, Dracula used the wolf to break the window so that the smell of the garlic wouldn't affect him, and basically attacked Lucy while her mother was in the room. And Lucy's poor mother unfortunately passed away from shock. She already had a weak heart, and so because of the attack, she died right next to Lucy, and then attacked Lucy. So this is the day after that attack, and this is what the doctor and Van Helsing are coming to see. And that's where we are. Give her my pillow. Let's go. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back in. I never saw in all my experience the professor work in such a deadly earnest. I knew, as he knew, that it was a stand-up fight with death, and in a pause told him so. He answered me in a way that I did not understand, but with the sternest look on his face could wear. If that were all, I would stop here, where we are now, and let her fade away into peace, for I see no light in life over her horizon. He went on with his work with, if possible, renewed if more frenzied vigor. Presently, we both began to be conscious that the heat was beginning to be of some effect. Lucy's heart beat a trifle more audibly to the stethoscope, and her lungs had a perceptible more movement. Van Helsing's face almost beamed, and as we lifted her from the bath and rolled her into a hot sheet to dry her, he said to me, "The first gain is ours. Check to the king." We took Lucy to another room, which had by now been prepared, and laid her in the bed and forced a few drops of brandy down her throat. I noticed that Van Helsing tried a soft silk handkerchief round her neck. She was still unconscious, and was quiet as bad as, if not worse than, we had ever seen her. Van Helsing called in one of the women and told her to stay with her and not take her eyes off her till we had returned, and then beckoned me out of the room. "We must consult as to what is to be done," he said as we descended the stairs. In the hall, he opened the dining room door, and we passed in. He closed the door carefully behind him. The shutters had been opened, but the blinds were already down, with that obedience to the etiquette of death which the British women of the lower classes always rigidly observed. The room was, therefore, dimly dark. It was, however, light enough for our purposes. Van Helsing's sternness was somewhat relieved by the look of perplexity. He was evidently torturing his mind about something. So I waited for an instant, and he spoke. "What are we to do now? Where are we to turn for help? We must have another transfusion of blood, and that soon, or that poor girl's life won't be worth an hour's purchase. You are exhausted already. I am exhausted too. I fear to trust those women, even if they would have courage to submit. What are we to do for someone who will open his veins for her? What's the matter with me anyhow?" The voice came from this... What's the matter with me anyhow? Yeah, that's what it says. The voice came from the sofa across the room, and its tones brought relief and joy to my heart. For they were those of Quincy Morris. Van Helsing started angrily at the first sound, but his face softened, and a glad look came to his eyes as I cried out, "Quincy Morris!" I rushed towards him and with outstretched hands. "What brought you here?" I cried as our hands met. "I guess aunt is the case." He handed me a telegram. "Have not heard from Seward for 3 days. I'm terribly anxious. Cannot leave. Father still in same condition. Send me word how Lucy is. Do not delay. Holmwood." I think I came just in the nick of time. Oh, this is the American. This is different as in the movies. Yes. So the movies had to cut a whole lot out, super, because the way that the story Dracula is written... Hi, Rain! The way the Dracula story is written... Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Ghost Receipt, thanks for the follow. Let me see. Who did? Bellmaster, thank you for the cafe order. Horrible, thank you so much for the cafe order. Calamity, thank you for the daily cafe order. And Rin, thank you for the daily cafe order. Welcome in. So what ended up happening, right? Let me recap a little bit. So Lucy, right? Hold on. I see that. AKA Bay Harbor Gooner. Thank you so much for the cafe order. Cronut, thanks so much for the follow. So Lucy is the blonde girl in the films, the one that Dracula basically goes after not Mina, not the girl that he believes to be his ex-wife, but he goes after Lucy, Mina's friend. And Lucy was pursued by Dr. Seward, Homeward, and Quincy. Quincy is an American. The storytelling style of Dracula is called episodical. Yes. So the way that this story is written, the book Dracula, it's chronologically told through newspaper clippings, journal entries, and letters back and forth between different people. So it's not written like a normal story where it's like second or third person. It's as if you're reading somebody's journal, as if like you're a news reporter and you're like, okay, so all these people gave me these things to try and piece together what happened. And that's what we're going through right now, basically. So we're looking at somebody's journal entry right now. Right now we're looking at Dr. Seward's diary. So, Hi, Envo. Alright, let's go ahead and get back into it. I think I came just in the nick of time. You know you only have to tell me what to do. Van Helsing strode forward and took his hand, looking him straight in the eyes as he said, "A brave man's blood is the best thing on this earth when a woman is in trouble. You are a man, and make no mistake. Well, the devil may work against us for all he's worth, but God sends us men when we want them." Once again, we went through that ghastly operation. I have not the heart to go through it with the details. Lucy had got a terrible shock, and it told on her more than before. For though plenty of blood went through her veins, her body did not respond to the treatment as well as on the other occasions. Her struggle back into life was something frightful to see and hear. However, the action of both heart and lungs improved, and Van Helsing made a subconscious injection of morphia, and with good effect. Her faint became a profound slumber. The professor watched whilst I went downstairs with Quincy Morris and sent one of the maids to pay off one of the cabmen who were waiting. I left Quincy lying down after having a glass of wine and told the cook to get ready a good breakfast. Then a thought struck me, and I went back to the room where Lucy now was. When I came softly in, I found Van Helsing with a sheet or two of notepaper in his hand. He had evidently read it and was thinking it over as he sat with his hand on his brow. There was a look of grim satisfaction in his face, as of one who has had a doubt solved. He handed me the paper, saying only, "It dropped from Lucy's breast when we carried her to the bath." When I had read it, I stood looking at the professor, and after a pause asked him, "In God's name, what does it all mean? Was she, or is she, mad? And what sort of horrible danger is it?" I was so bewildered that I did not know what to say anymore. Van Helsing put out his hand and took the paper, saying, "Do not trouble about it now. Forget it for the present. You shall know and understand it all in good time, but it will later be. And now what is it that you came to say to me?" This brought me back for the fact, and I was all myself again. I came to speak about the certificate of death. If we do not act properly and wisely, there may be an inquest, and that paper would have to be produced. I am in hopes that we need have no inquest, for if we had, it would surely kill poor Lucy if nothing else did. I know, and you know, that the other doctor who attended her knows that Miss Westernia had disease of the heart, and we can certify that she died of it. Let us fill up the certificate at once, and I shall take it to myself to the registrar and go to the undertaker. Good. Oh, my friend John, well thought of, truly. Miss Lucy, if she had been sound in the foes that beset her, It is at least happy in the friends that love her. 1, 2, 3 all opened the veins for her, besides one old man. Ah, yes, I know, friend John. I'm not blind. I love you all the more for it. Now, go. In the hall, I met Quincy Morris with a telegram for Arthur telling him that Miss Westerna was dead, that Lucy also had been ill but was now going on better, and that Van Helsing and I were with her. I told him where I was going, and he heard me out, but as I was going, said, "When you come back, Jack, may I have 2 words with you all to ourselves?" I nodded in reply and went out. I found no difficulty about the registration and arranged with the local undertaker to come up in the evening to measure for the coffin and to make arrangements. When I got back, Quincy was waiting for me. I told him I would see him as soon as I knew about Lucy and went up to her room. She was still sleeping, and the professor seemingly had not moved from his seat at her side. From his putting his finger to his lips, I gathered that he expected her to wake before long and was afraid of forestalling nature. So I went downstairs to Quincy and took him to the breakfast room, where the blinds were not drawn down and which is a little more cheerful, or rather, less cheerless than the other rooms. When we were alone, he said to me, "Jack, Seward, I don't want to shove myself in anywhere I've got no right to be, but this ain't no ordinary case. You know, I love that girl and I wanted to marry her, but although that's past and present, I can't help feeling anxious about her all the same. What is it that's wrong with her? The Dutchman, and a fine fellow that he is, I can see that, said that time you 2 came into the room that you must have another transfusion of blood, and that both of you and he were exhausted. Now, I know well that you had medical men speak in camera, and that a man must not expect to know what they consult about in private. But this is no common matter, and whatever it is, I have done my part. Is that not so?" "That is so," I said, and he went on, "I take it that both you and Van Helsing had done already what I did today. Is that not so?" "That is so. And I guess Art was in it too. When I saw him 4 days ago down by his own place, he looked queer. I've not seen anything pulled down so quick since I was on the pampas, and had a mare that I was fond of go to the grass all in the night. One of those big bats that they call vampires had got at her at the night, and with its gorge and the vein left open, there wasn't enough blood in her to let her stand up. And I had to put a bullet through her as she lay. Jack, if you may tell me without betraying confidence, Arthur was the first, is that not so?" As he spoke, the poor fellow looked terribly anxious. He was in a torture of suspense regarding the woman he loved, and his utter ignorance of the terrible mystery which seemed to surround her intensified his pain. His very heart was bleeding, and it took all the manhood of him, and there was a royal lot of it too, to keep him from breaking down. I paused before answering, for I felt that I must not betray anything which the professor wished kept secret. But already he knew so much, and guessed so much, that there was no reason for not answering. So I answered in the same phrase. "That's so. And how long has this been going on?" "About 10 days. 10 days! Then I guess, Jack Seward, that the poor pretty creature that we all love has put into her veins within that time the blood of 4 strong men. Man alive, her whole body wouldn't hold it." Then, coming close to me, he spoke in a fierce half-whisper. "What took it out?" I shook my head. "That," I said, "is the crux. Van Helsing is simply frantic about it, and I'm at my wit's end. I can't even hazard a guess. There has been a series of little circumstances which have thrown all of our calculations as to Lucy's being properly watched. But these shall not occur again. Here we stay until all be well, or ill." Quincy held out his hand. "Count me in," he said. "You and the Dutchman will tell me what to do, and I'll do it." When she woke later in the afternoon, Lucy's first movement was to feel at her breast and, to my surprise, produced a paper which Van Helsing had given me to read. The careful professor had replaced it where it had come from, lest on waking she should be alarmed. Her eye then lit on Van Helsing and on me too, and gladdened. Then she looked around the room, and seeing where she was, shuddered. She gave a loud cry and put her poor thin hands before her pale face. We both understood what that meant. Then she had realized to the full her mother's death. So we tried what we could to comfort her. Doubtless sympathy eased her somewhat, but she was very low in thought and spirit, and wept silently and weakly for a long time. We told her that either or both of us would now remain with her all the time, and that seemed to comfort her. Towards dusk, she fell into a doze. Here, a very odd thing occurred. While still asleep, she took the paper from her breast and tore it in two. Van Helsing stepped over and took the pieces from her. All the same, however, she went on with the action of tearing, as though the material were still in her hands. Finally, she lifted her hands and opened them as though scattering fragments. Van Helsing seemed surprised, and his brows gathered as if in thought, but he said nothing. Hi, Envo. Hi, Sizzle. Welcome in. How are you? Liz, thanks for the daily check-in, as well as, oh, just Liz. Okay. Alright. Do a quick breather before we continue on, because we have September 19th before we go into a letter. It's only been 30 minutes and I already love this cat game. It's such a cute game, isn't it? Look, 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 look. One of my favorite things to do is pew, 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 pew. And then we can also do something like this. Watch, watch, watch. Look, look, look. Meow. Meow, meow, meow. It's so cute. I love Bongo Cats. It's such a cute little game. And it's for free. It's like, how could you go wrong? You know what I mean? How could you? Amaris! Amaris, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in, Raiders. Welcome to Favorite Cafe. I'm Mukia. I'm a siren with a necrotic affliction, and I run the cafe. If you guys would like a drink, I could do tea, boba, coffee, hot cocoa, however. The cake is extra. Hi, hi. Here comes the frog witch. Hi, lovely. How are you, beautiful? How was stream? How was Stardew? Girl, did you see the new update? Are you doing the new update, or is the update even out? I don't think it's out yet, right? So we are reading. We are doing some Dracula. We're reading some Dracula. I think the French toast is well received. I got a big smooch for it. Okay, so that's good. That means you did a really good job. But yeah, Amari. Actually, yeah, that is your name. I'm so dumb. Amari, if you need to raid and run, I completely understand. But if you want to lurk and hang out, you're more than welcome to. We are doing Dracula. We're on chapter 12. If you want to read along with us, I did pin the book to the top of the page. I don't think the update is out yet. It was amazing, though. I was playing Nexus mod comparison called Witchcore. That sounds so cute. Oh my god. Hold on. Let me go to your VOD really quick. I want to see what the mod looks like. I love playing modded Stardew. It's so fun. Let me see. Oh my gosh, your picture. The scooter. Very cozy and witchy. Oh, that's the best. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let me see. Yes, I like that mod. Yes, I've played that one before. It is so pretty. So pretty. Yeah. But Amaris, if you need to read and run, I understand. We are doing chapter 12 of the story, so if you want to get cozy, get comfortable, and relax with us, obviously you're more than welcome to. I'm gonna go ahead and get back into the story. I'm just gonna drink a little bit of my coffee and then some water. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of reading. Meow meow meow. Yeah. Or the way that I don't remember the VTuber, not VTuber, sorry, the TikTok girl. She goes, meow meow meow. Okay. Before we get into how do you do the emojis? Oh, okay, let me show you really quick. Here. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. So you're gonna go into the little bars over here, and then this window, your window's gonna pop up. Oh, you can't see. Hold on. Let me show you. Okay, so you go here, here, and then what you're gonna do, you're gonna go here, and the emojis are actually at the bottom, right? So you have all these emojis. What you do is you just click on one, and then to do them, they'll show up here. You just hover over your character, and they'll show up here. And then to get rid of them, you just do that. Yep, that's it. That's all you gotta do. And then you can do little emojis, all kinds of different ones. And then when you want to do them, you just pew 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 pew. It's cute, huh? Such a cute little game. I like the Bongo Cat game. It's just very sweet. Here, let me put it right there. Perfect. If you guys want to join, you're more than welcome to. There is the link to the free game, and that is the invite code. Gonna raid and run because it's almost 3 a.m. Go take care of yourself, Amaris. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for the raid. It's nice to be back here. That story, what story we're reading? We are doing Dracula, chapter 12. You can see it right here on the side of the screen. Otherwise, you can read it down below in the title. Life immeasurably improved. Thank you. Of course. And one thing you can do, worker, let me show you. One thing that you can do. Okay, so if you go back into the menu, right? Go back to the menu, go to the gear, you scroll down to right here, cat randomizer. Randomize cat every 5 minutes, 15:30. I do 5. That way, any item that I own will cycle through, so that you can see all kinds of different funny little combinations. It's so cute. I like the different combinations. Hi Jerry, I'm doing good. How are you? How's your night? Need to get collecting. I've been playing for a hot minute, so I have a lot of things. And right now, and right now they have the advent calendar going on. So if you go to the heart, go to the little heart menu, you can open the advent calendar, and you can redeem a holiday item each day. It's cute. Pineapple samurai hat. Oh yeah, keep playing, as it's an idle game, so you don't really have to do anything. Finish up some cleaning. How was cleaning? Hopefully it went well. We are reading some Dracula. We're just taking a quick breather because we finished a little bit of chapter 12. And we're just going to take a quick breath before we read more. If you want to join us in reading, you can. The chapter is pinned to the top of chat. Otherwise, you can just lean back and relax. Jerry Mouse, thanks for the follow. Welcome in, cutie. Enjoying this a lot. I'm glad. It's so cozy, right? I actually really like reading to you guys. I would read as often as I could to you guys. That's why we switch it off between Tuesdays, where we play like a comfy, cozy game, just chatting and reading. But honestly, I think starting in January, Tuesday will be strictly reading night. And then Monday will be triggers and cozy game, just chatting. So, because I really like reading to you guys. Relaxing and comfy evening. Good. I love the crackling fire with the sound of the waves and just a gentle guitar to lull you to sleep. It's so cozy. So cozy. Okay. Alright, everybody. Take a deep breath through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Close your eyes and relax. I'm gonna keep reading. 19th of September. Isango, welcome in. 19th of September. All last night she slept fitfully, being always afraid to sleep, and something weaker when she woke from it. The professor and I took it in turns to watch, and we never left her for a moment unattended. Quincy Morris said nothing about his intention, but I knew all night long he patrolled round and round the house. When the day came, its searching light showed the ravages of poor Lucy's strength. She was hardly able to turn her head, and the little nourishment which she could take seemed to do her no good. At times she slept, and both Van Helsing and I noticed the difference in her between sleeping and waking. Whilst asleep she looked stronger, although more haggard, and her breathing was softer. Her open mouth showed the pale gums drawn back from the teeth, which thus looked positively longer and sharper than usual. When she woke, the softness of her eyes evidently changed the expression, for she looked for her own self, although a dying one. In the afternoon she asked for Arthur, and we telegraphed for him. Quincy went off to meet him at the station. When he arrived, it was nearly 6 o'clock, and the sun was setting full and warm, and the red light streamed in through the window and gave more color to the pale cheeks. When he saw her, Arthur simply choked with emotion, and none of us could speak. In the hours that had passed, the fits of sleep or the comatose condition that passed for it, the groan had grown more frequent, so that the pauses when conversation was possible were shortened. Arthur's presence, however, seemed to act as a stimulant. She rallied a little and spoke to him more brightly than she had done since we arrived. He too pulled himself together and spoke as cheerily as he could, so that the best was made of everything. It was nearly 1 o'clock, and he and Van Helsing were sitting with her. I am to relieve them in a quarter of an hour, and I am entering this on Lucy's phonograph. Until 6 o'clock, they are to try to rest. I fear that tomorrow will end our watching, for the shock has been too great. The poor child cannot rally. God help us all. Fairy143, thank you for the follow. And Isango, thank you for the forehead kiss. Reaper, thank you so much for the check-in. Thank you for the daily coffee order. Hi Peanut, how are you, cutie? Hi Fang Hunter. Peanut, thank you for the daily coffee order. Welcome in. And thank you for the kiss. You got it over my heart. Thank you for the heart kiss. Thank you for checking to make sure my heart's still beating. Yes. Jerry Mouse, thank you for the daily coffee order. If you guys want me to greet you personally, you can do the cafe order. Otherwise, you can do the to-go order, and I will not say hi to you. That way you can still lurk in your own personal, like, quietness, you know? But you still get that check-in point. Thing Hunter, thank you for the coffee order. Okay. Let me continue through, because I believe we're almost done with chapter 12. Yes, we're pretty close to the end. Alright. Letter, Mina Harker to Lucy Westerna. Unopened by her. 17th of September. My dearest Lucy. Oh, wait, hold on. My dearest Lucy, it seems an age since I heard from you, or indeed since I wrote. You will pardon me, I know, for all my faults when you had read all my budget of news. Well, I got my husband back all right. When we arrived at Exeter, there was a carriage waiting for us, and in it, though he had an attack of gout, Mr. Hawkins. He took us to his house, where there were rooms for us all, nice and comfortable, and we dined together. After dinner, Mr. Hawkins said, "My dears, I want to drink to your health and prosperity, and may every blessing attend you both. I know you both from children, and have, with love and pride, seen you grown up. Now, I want you to make your home here with me. I have left to me neither chick nor child. All are gone, and in my will I have left you everything." I cried, dear Lucy, as Jonathan and the old man clasped hands. Our evening was a very, very happy one. So here we are, instilled in this beautiful old house, and from both my bedroom to the drawing room, I can see the great elms of the cathedral close, with their great black stems standing out against the old yellow stone of the cathedral. And I can hear the rooks overhead cawing and chattering and gossiping all day, after the manner of rooks and humans. I am busy, I need not tell you, arranging things and housekeeping. Jonathan and Mr. Hawkins are busy all day, for now that Jonathan is a partner, Mr. Hawkins wants to tell him all about the clients. How is your dear mother getting on? I wish I could run up to town for a day or two to see you, dear, but I dare not go just yet, with so much on my shoulders, and Jonathan wants looking after still. He is beginning to put some flesh on his bones again, but he has terribly weakened by the long illness. Even now, he sometimes starts out of his sleep with a sudden way, and awakens all trembling until I can coax him back into his usual placidity. However, thank God, these occasions grow less frequent as the days go on, and they will in time pass away altogether, I trust. And now I have told you my news. Let me ask yours. When are you to be married, and where, and who is to perform this ceremony, and what are you to wear, and is it to be public or a private wedding? Tell me all about it, dear. Tell me everything. But there is nothing which interests you which will not be dear to me. Jonathan asks me to send his respectful duty, but I do not think that is good enough from the junior partner of the important firm Hawkins and Harker. And so, as you love me, and he loves me, and I love you with all the moods and tenses of the verb, I will send you simply his love instead. Goodbye, my dearest Lucy, and all blessings to you. Yours, Mina Harker. Hi, Ivan. Welcome in. How are you, cutie? How's your night? Report from Patrick Hennessy, MD, MRCS, LKQ, CPI, etc., etc., to John Seward, MD, 20th of September. My dear sir, in accordance with your wishes, I enclose report of the conditions of everything left in my charge. With regard to patient Renfield, there is more to say. He has had another outbreak, which might have had a dreadful ending, but which, as it fortunately happened, was unattended with any unhappy results. This afternoon, a carrier's cart with 2 men made a call to the empty house whose grounds abut on ours. The house to which, you'll remember, the patient twice ran away. The men stopped at our gate to ask the porter their way, as they were strangers. I was myself looking out the study window, having a smoke after dinner, and saw one of them come up to the house. As he passed the window of Renfield's room, the patient began to rate him from within and called him all the foul names he could lay his tongue to. The man, who seemed a decent fellow enough, contented himself by telling him to shut up for a foul-mouthed beggar. Whereon our man accused him of robbing him and wanting to murder him, and said that he would hinder him if he were to swing for it. I opened the window and signaled to the man not to notice, so he contented himself after looking the place over and making up his mind as to what kind of a place he had got to by saying, "Lord bless you, sir, I wouldn't mind what was said to me in a bloomin' madhouse. A pity in the governor for having to live into the house with a wild beast like that." Then he asked his way civilly enough, and I told him where the gate of the empty house was. He went away, followed by threats and curses and revilings from our man. I went down to see if I could make out any cause for his anger, since he is usually such a well-behaved man, and except for his violent fits, nothing of the kind had ever occurred. I found him, to my astonishment, quite composed and almost genial in his manner. I tried to get him to talk of the incident, but he blandly asked me questions as to what I meant, and led me to believe that he was completely oblivious of the affair. It was, I am sorry to say, however, only another instance of his cunning, for within half an hour I heard him again. This time he had broken out through the window of his room and was running down the avenue. I called the attendants to follow me and ran after him, for I feared he was intent on some mischief. My fear was justified when I saw the same cart which had passed before coming down the road, having on it some great wooden boxes. The men were wiping their foreheads and were flushed in the face as if with violent exercise. Before I could get up to him, the patient rushed at them and, pulling one of them off the cart, began to knock his head against the ground. If I had not seized him just at the moment, I believe he would have killed the man there and then. The other fellow jumped down and struck him over the head with the butt end of his heavy whip. It was a terrible blow, but he did not seem to mind it, but seized him also and struggled with the 3 of us, pulling him to and fro as if we were kittens. You know I am no lightweight, and the others were both burly men. At first he was silent in his fighting, but as we began to master him, and the attendants were putting a straight waistcoat on him, there, I began to shout, "I'll frustrate them. They shan't rob me. They shan't murder me by inches. I'll fight for my lord and master," and all sorts of similar incoherent ravings. It was with very considerable difficulty that I got him back to the house and put in the padded room. One of the attendants, Hardy, had a broken finger. However, I set it all right, and he is going on well. The 2 carriers were at first loud in their threats of action for damages and promised to rain all the penalties of the law on us. Their threats were, however, mingled with some sort of indirect apology for the defeat of the 2 of them by the feeble madman. They said that if it had not been for the way their strength had been spent in carrying and raising the heavy boxes to the cart, they would have made short work of him. They gave us another reason for the defeat: the extraordinary state of drought to which they've been reduced by the dusty nature of the occupation and the reprehensible distance from the sense of their labors to any place of public entertainment. I quite understood their drift, and after a stiff glass of grog, or rather more of the same, with which each a sovereign in hand, they made light of the attack and swore that they would encounter a worse madman any day for the pleasure of meeting so bloomin' good a bloke as her correspondent. I took their names and addresses in case they might be needed. They are as follows: Jack Smollett of Dunning's Rents, King George's Road, Great Walworth, and Thomas Snelling, Peter Falsey's Road, Guide Court, Bethnal Green. They are both in the employment of Harris and Sons. Harris and Sons. Oh, moving a shipment company, Orange Masters Yards, Soho. I shall report to you any matter of interest occurring here and shall wire you at once if there is anything of import. Believe me, dear sir, yours faithfully, Patrick Hennessy. Oh, blondie nose. So those of you who don't know, so Harris and Sons is the shipping company that Dracula used. So at the beginning of the story, he commissioned Jonathan Harker to go to his castle in Transylvania to basically teach him about the ways of modern England, right? And all the while, he was basically taking care of Jonathan Harker, feeding him and feeding off of him. And so, on the very last day, Jonathan Harker finds out what's going on, and that Dracula is not just an old count. He's some type of monster, but he doesn't know what. But he's some type of monster that needs crates of dirt from Transylvania shipped to England, and the company that he uses to ship the dirt is Harris and Sons. So, if you ever watch the movie, The Last Voyage of... Oh, what was that movie? Last Voyage of... Not Dawn Treader. What was the name of the movie? Hold on. I already forgot. There was a movie that they did a couple years ago. And Demeter. Yes, Last Voyage of the Demeter. That movie talks about and shows what they believe happened while Dracula was on the boat to be shipped from Transylvania into England. So it takes a couple liberties, but it is pretty accurate of like what I think would happen. I thought it was an awful movie. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. They made Dracula into much more of just like a monster and not necessarily humanish. You know what I mean? They made him very much like just a plain basic like monstro, you know what I mean? Hi Cozard, welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Hope you're doing well. We are reading Dracula. If you'd like to read along with us, the book is pinned to the top of the page. Otherwise, you can just relax, take a deep breath, and relax. And I will read to you. Well, if you'd like to, of course. But I hope you're having a good night. Magna, thank you for the flowers. Isongo, welcome in, welcome in. It's 11 a.m. for me. Oh, she just woke up. Well, good morning. How did you rest, kitty? When she reads, wow, Gaga, you keep smelling yourself and that's crazy. You keep smelling me and you keep thinking it's you. That's crazy. Because you only, you can only smell me when you're not around. Because then you know what something good smells like. Hi, Baden. Oh. Okay, sorry I had to respond to that. Have a good look, Ivan. So rude. Yeah, well, you started it, Kaka. You started it. I'm just finishing it. Hiya, Beacon. Alright. Everybody took a nice deep breath. Alright, I'm gonna drink some. Actually, I'm gonna drink some coffee. I made a cinnamon coffee and I put a splash of my dad's eggnog in it because he likes he likes eggnog, so I usually use that to make it like a kind of a creamy coffee, and then I blended it like with it because we have a hand blender thing, like a little cafe hand blender thing. Got it a little frothy. Ooh, so good. And then for my birthday, our friend Vexing Cat got me a little cat dish that keeps my cup warm and holds my phone. It's so cute. It's so cutie. Hi, Cherry. Thank you for the forehead kiss. Mwah. Thank you, thank you. Alright, now that we're nice and relaxed, and hydrated, let's put a little chapstick on, and then we'll read some more. Much better. Alright, and let's continue. Letter, Mina Harker to Lucy Westerna, unopened by her, 18th of September. My dearest Lucy, such a sad blow has befallen us. Mr. Harker has died very suddenly. Some may not think it so sad for us, but we had both come to love him. We had both come to so love him that it really seems as though we had lost a father. I never knew either father nor mother, so that the dear old man's death is a real blow to me. Jonathan is greatly distressed. It is not only that he feels sorrow, deep sorrow for the dear good man who had befriended him all his life, and now, at the end, has treated him like his own son, and left him a fortune which to people of our modest bringing up is wealthy beyond the dream of avarice. But Jonathan feels it is on another account. He says the amount of responsibility which it puts upon him makes him nervous. He begins to doubt himself. I try to cheer him up, and my belief in him helps him to have a belief in himself. But it is here that the grave shock that he experienced tells upon him the most. Oh, it is too hard that a sweet, simple, noble, strong nature as his, a nature which enabled him by our dear good friend's aid to rise from the clerk to master of a few years, should be so injured that the very essence of its strength is gone. Forgive me, dear, if I worry you with my troubles in the midst of your own happiness, but, Lucy, dear, I tell someone, for the strain of keeping up a brave and cheerful appearance for Jonathan tries me. And I have no one here that I can confide in. I dread coming up to London, as we must do the day after tomorrow, where poor Mr. Hawkins left him in his will that he will be buried in the grave with his father, and there are no relations at all. Jonathan will have to be chief mourner. I shall try to run over to see you, dearest, if only for a few moments. Forgive me for troubling you. With all blessings, your loving Mina Harker. Oh shit. Serena Nietzsche, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome to Favorite Cafe. I'm Mukya. I'm a siren with a necrotic affliction, and I run a cafe. How is stream, lovely? How is it? You're doing some Nikkei. How did it go? Did you get any good pulls today? Were you doing any pulls? Were you doing some story? Welcome in, welcome in. Hi, hi. Do you like Snaky, right? Snaky? Snaky. If people call you Snaky? Welcome in, lovely. How was your stream? Let me give you a quick follow. Boom. There we go. Girl, your model is so pretty. What the hecky hex? Dang, wait, hold on. Am I using the right pronouns? I don't even know. I'm so sorry. But welcome in. I did. I got what I wanted today. Yay! Congratulations. Alex is a cat. Thanks for the follow. It was good. We had a blast. I may or may not have cried. Cry? Why? What happened? Was it a really good story thing? I love it. I love it when, like, I'm playing a game and the story, like, you get so involved and then you start crying. I cry so much in certain games. One of the games that I wept my eyes out, I was crying so hard, was the story arc with Cardathea and Wuthering Waves. Oh, that broke my heart. She was so sweet. That one, and gosh, what's the other game? The game that I played last December. Beacon Pines. Oh, the end of Beacon Pines. I cried. I cried. Alex? Serena? Is it Serena or Serena? Re-array. Re-array. Re-ra, re-ra, re-ra. But if you need to raid and run, I completely understand. But if you want to lurk and hang out, you're obviously more than welcome to. We are doing book club tonight. We are reading chapter 12 of Dracula. If you'd like to join us, you're more than welcome to. The book is pinned to the top of the chat. Otherwise, if you just need to lurk and hang out and relax, you're obviously more than welcome to. For Lova's story, oh, okay, for Lova's story, that got me too. That was really good. I didn't cry, but it was really good. Gotta go eat pizza because it's past 3 a.m. Yes, Snickies, there will be behavior, I promise. Serena. Gotcha. Out of the first time. Okay, I always second guess myself with names. I'm so bad about that. But Serena, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for the raid. Get some good sleepies and you have a good night. Okay, lovely. Thank you. Hopefully I can catch you soon. Good night. Rest well. Forehead kisses for the homies. Thank you so much. Oh, Magna, thank you for the care package. Oh, and Jerry, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Jerry. Alright, care package, everybody. Sit up, tilt your head to the left. Oof, tilt your head to the right. Let it sit for just a minute. Look up. And look down. Okay. And drink some Wawa. If you're laying in bed, deep breath through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. And as you exhale, close your eyes and relax. Alright, let's go ahead and let's get back into it. Okay. Dr. Seward's Diary, 20th of September. Only resolution and habit can let me make an entry tonight. I am too miserable and too low-spirited too sick of the world and all in it, including life itself, that I would not care if I heard this moment the flapping of the wings of the angel of death, as he had been flapping those grim wings to some purpose of late. Lucy's mother and Arthur's father, and now let me get on with my work. I duly relieved Von Helsing in his watch over Lucy. We wanted Arthur to go rest also, but he refused at first. It was only when I told him that we should want him to help us during the day that we must not all break down for the want of rest, lest Lucy should suffer, and he agreed to go. Von Helsing was very kind to him. Come, my child, he said, come with me. You are sick and awake, and have had much sorrow and much mental pain, as well as that tax on your strength that we know of. You must not be alone, for to be alone is to be full of fears and alarms. come to the drawing room where there is a big fire and there are 2 sofas. You shall lay on one and I on the other, and our sympathy will be comfort to each other, even though we do not speak, and even if we are asleep. Arthur went off with him, casting back a longing look on Lucy's face, which lay in her pillow almost whiter than the lawn. She lay quite still, and I looked round the room to see that all was as it should be. I could see that the professor had carried out in his room, as in the other, his purpose of using the garlic. The whole of the window sachets reeked with it, and round Lucy's neck, over the silk handkerchief which Van Helsing made her keep on, was a rough chaplet of the same odorous flowers. Lucy was breathing somewhat surreptitiously, and her face was at its worst, for the open mouth showed the pale gums. Her teeth, in the dim, uncertain light, seemed longer and sharper than they had in the morning. In particular, by some trick of the light, the canine teeth looked longer and sharper than the rest. I sat down beside her, and presently she moved uneasily. There was a full moonlight, and I could see that the noise was made by a great bat which wheeled around, doubtless attracted by the light, also so dim, and every now and again struck the window with its wings. When I came back to my seat, I found that Lucy had moved slightly and had torn away the garlic flowers from her throat. I replaced them as well as I could and sat watching her. Presently, she woke, and I gave her food as Van Helsing had prescribed. She took a little, and that languidly, that's a hard word, languidly, there you go. There did not seem to be with her now the unconscious struggle for life and strength that had hitherto so marked her illness. It struck me as curious that the moment she became conscious, she pressed the garlic flowers close to her. It was certainly odd that whenever she got into that lethargic state, that the surreptitious breathing, she put the flowers from her, but that when she waked, she clutched them close. There was no possibility of making any mistake about this, for in the long hours that followed, she had many spells of sleeping and waking and repeating both actions many times. At 6 o'clock, Van Helsing came to relieve me. Arthur had fallen into a doze, and he mercifully let him sleep on. When he saw Lucy's face, I could hear the sissing indraw of his breath. And he said to me in a sharp whisper, "Draw up the blind. I want light." Then he bent down and, with his face almost touching Lucy's, examined her carefully. He removed the flowers and lifted the silk handkerchief from her throat. As he did so, he started back, and I could hear his exclamation, "Mein Gott!" and it was smothered in his throat. I bent over and looked, and as I noticed, some queer chill came over me. The wounds on the throat had absolutely disappeared. For fully 5 minutes, Van Helsing stood looking at her, with his face in its sternest. Then he turned to me and said calmly, "She is dying. It will not be long now. It will be much difference, mark me, whether she dies conscious or in her sleep. Wake that poor boy and let him come and see the last. He trusts us, and we have promised him." I went through the dining room and waked him. He was dazed for a moment, but when he saw the sunlight streaming in through the edges of the shutters, he thought he was late and expressed his fear. I assured him that Lucy was still asleep, but told him as gently as I could that both Van Helsing and I feared the end was near. He covered his face with his hands and slid down on his knees by the sofa, where he remained perhaps a minute with his head buried, praying, whilst his sugar whilst his shoulders shook with grief. Yeah. Imagine you get news that your beloved is dying and you shake your sugar maker. The names and languages then think this is Pride and Prejudice. The names, Jag Van Helsing, Seward. I mean, they're very, they're of the same time, I believe. Van Helsing and Pride and Prejudice, I think they're around the same time. Kumaman, welcome in. How are you, cutie? How's your night? Darcy. Mr. Darcy. Sugar shook. Yes, he got his sugar shook. What does that mean? It means somebody grabbed his hat. I'm so sorry. My apologies. Imagine. Oh my god, imagine. Somebody's like, what's wrong with him? He's shaking his sugar. Shake what your mama gave you. Exactly. Okay. I love Mr. Darcy. Alright, you're not sorry. I'm so not sorry. It made me laugh, and I do love to laugh. Alright. He covered his face with his hands and slid down on his knees by the sofa, where he remained perhaps a minute with his head buried, praying, whilst his shoulders shook with grief. I took him by the hand and raised him up. Come, I said, my dear old fellow, summon all your fortitude. It will be best and easiest for her. Yeah, Valonia, I read your I saw it. Not the sad twerking. Oh my god. We all. Okay, I had to mute myself. I was laughing too hard. Oh my goodness. We all deal with grief differently. Some of us cry to work. Yeah. Want to see how hard I can cry. Begins twerking. Not okay, so welcome. Thank you so much for the follow. Hi, Belcho. Welcome in. How are you? The twerks. Not the twerks of sorrow. Hard to grieve. Okay. Oh my god, that got me so good. I couldn't breathe for like 2 minutes. Oh my god. The twerking of sorrow got me, bro. Same. Oh. Uh, Where's the sicko t-shirt meme? Try talk, how good you? Twerks of Sorrow to be the first t-shirt. You want the first t-shirt to be just Twerks of Sorrow. And it's like me on the back twerking, and it's just like crying and twerking. Twerks of Sorrow merch. And then Trying to came out with the at the funeral worst lap dance ever. Oh my god. Oh my god. Guga, put that into the Discord mod channel, can you please? That's fucking hilarious. Oh my god, that's amazing. I love that for us so much. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. New brand name. Right? Yeah. And Twerks of Sorrow hoodie. Twerks underscore sorrow. Yes. Oh my god. Oh, instead of a t-shirt, what about a sticker? Then you guys can put it on, you know, a bunch of different things. Twerks of Sorrow merch, and it's a sticker. Oh my god. Okay. I think we're good. I'm gonna show up to Christmas wearing the Twerk of Sorrow ugly sweater. Stickers on my truck. A bumper sticker. It says Twerks of Sorrow 2025. Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. I don't think I need to go for my walk later. I'm sweating from laughing. Yeah, my stomach hurts from laughing so much. Oh my god. Okay. Oh. We're gonna go a bit longer, and then we're gonna take a quick break so I can go to the bathroom and wipe my eyes. I'm trying to like not touch my eyes. Twerk it out, Moo, twerk it out. No, I'm not sad. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, you better not be. That was brilliant. Honestly, when I said sugar shook, I actually like imagined you guys, because right, I call you guys my sweetlings, right? So you guys are just different types of sugar packets and like different sweeteners, right? So I imagined like you guys standing up and like twerking, and like you just see like bottles of like sweetener sugar packets. Shake it for you? Yes. Yes. And just like a whole conga line of different, you know, different variations of you guys. That'd be so funny. Okay. We need to lock the fuck in, guys. Okay, we're almost done with chapter 12. Alright. Trick for Moo. my god, too funny. When we came into Lucy's room, I could see that Van Helsing had, with his usual forethought, been putting matters straight and making everything look as pleasing as possible. He had even brushed Lucy's hair so that it lay on the pillow in its usual sunny ripples. When he came into the room, he opened her eyes. When we came into the room, she opened her eyes and seeing him whispered softly, "Arthur, oh, my love, I'm so glad you have come." He was stooping to kiss her when Van Helsing motioned him back. "No," he whispered, "not yet. Hold her hand. It will comfort her more." So Arthur took her hand and knelt beside her, and she looked her best, with all the soft lines matching the angelic beauty of her eyes. Then gradually her eyes closed, and she sank to sleep. For a little bit, her breast heaved softly, and her breath came and went like a tired child's. And then, insensibly, there came the strange change which I had noticed in the night. Her breathing grew strenuous, the mouth opened, and the pale gums draw back, made the teeth look longer and sharper than ever. In a sort of sleep-waking, vague, unconscious way, she opened her eyes, which were now dull and hard at once. And in a soft voice, voluptuous voice, such as I had never heard from her lips, "Arthur, oh my love, I'm so glad you have come. Kiss me." Arthur bent eagerly over to kiss her, but in that instant, Van Helsing, who, like me, had been startled by her voice, swooped upon him, catching him by the neck with both hands, dragging him back with the fury of strength which I never thought he could have possessed, and actually hurled him almost across the floor. "Not for your life," he said, "not for your living soul and hers." And he stood between them like a lion at bay. Arthur was so shaken aback that he did not for a moment know what to do or say, and before any impulse of violence could seize him, he realized the place and the occasion and stood silent, waiting. I kept my eyes fixed on Lucy, as did Van Helsing, and we saw a spasm as of rage flinch like a shadow over her face. The sharp teeth clamped together, then her eyes closed, and she breathed heavily. Very shortly after, she opened her eyes in all their softness, and putting out her poor, pale, thin hand, took Van Helsing's great brown one, drawing it to her. She kissed it. "My true friend," she said in a faint voice, but with untellable pathos. "My true friend and his. Oh, guard him and give me peace." "I swear it," he said solemnly, kneeling beside her and holding up his hand as one who registers an oath. Then he turned to Arthur and said to him, "Come, my child, take her hand in yours and kiss her on the forehead, and only once." Their eyes met instead of their lips, and so they parted. Lucy's eyes closed, and Van Helsing, who had been watching closely, took Arthur's arm and drew him away. And then Lucy's breathing became strenuous again, and all at once it ceased. "It's all over," said Van Helsing. "She is dead." I took Arthur by the arm and led him away to the drawing room, where he sat down and covered his face with his hands, sobbing in a way that nearly broke me down to see. I went back to the room and found Van Helsing looking at poor Lucy, and his face was sterner than ever. Some change had come over her body. Death had given back part of her beauty, for her brow and cheeks had recovered some of their flowing veins. Even the lips had lost their deadly pallor. It was as if the blood, no longer needed for the working of the heart, had gone to make the harshness of death as little rude as might be. We thought her dying whilst she slept, and sleeping when she died. I stood beside Van Helsing and said, well, girl, there is peace for her at last. It is the end. He turned to me and said with grave solemnity, Not so, alas. Not so. It is only the beginning. When I asked him what he meant, he only shook his head and answered, We can do nothing as yet. Wait and see. Okay. Okay, chapter 12. We are now on chapter 14. We did it! Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations. We're on chapter 13. Operation Twerk for me. That is actually something I do want to get eventually, right? Because we're saving for the 2.0 model, and I'm going to be sitting with Inky sometime in January, and we will be doing the preparations for the 2.0, and then once we have that all settled with the artist and the rigging and everything, which is probably part of what next year is going to be saving up for, is doing that. So we're not going to have anything new for a hot minute. Chapter twerking we did. I want to also find someone that can do the what is it called? The chat mascot, you know? Take a break. Yes. We will be taking a quick break. I'm gonna stand up in a minute because I just heard the door to the bathroom close, which means someone's already in there. But yeah. We will be doing chapter 13, or at least starting it, if it's not too long. It's not terribly long. Yeah, we can do it in the next hour and a half if I just focus. Yes, we'll be doing chapter 13 when we come back. Alright, Jello! Thank you so much for the daily coffee order. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. But yeah, let me double check something. Nope, we're still good there. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do a quick therapy, and when we come back, we'll start chapter 13. So if you are still at your desk, you can take this time maybe to stand up, walk around a little bit, refresh your water, and if you're laying down in bed, stay cozy, stay warm, and we'll be right back, okay? Okay. Emma! Hi, beautiful. How are you? Thank you so much for the 10 bits. How's your night? Let's go ahead and let's switch back. Crack it open, laughing in the bathroom again? No, I'm not. I'm not. I did need to go wash my face, though. Oh my gosh, I was cracking up. It was so freaking funny. That was hilarious. The twerk of sorrow. That was amazing. Oh gosh. And welcome anybody that is watching over on YouTube. Hopefully your night is good. Hope you're having a good night. If you guys are hanging out right now in my Twitch side of things, if you can do me a favor, if you can open up a tab over on the YouTube side of things, I do have the stream open over there as well. I don't have the chat open this time because I am reading, so it's harder for me to go back and forth between the two. So I'm only looking at the Twitch chat, but I am trying to get monetized over on YouTube. I'm pretty close. I'm a couple hundred hours away from getting monetized. So each view increases that chance and makes it go by faster so that we can get monetized for our VODs and stuff. Phil, thank you for the forehead kiss. Thank you, thank you. Welcome back, welcome back. Hopefully everybody stood up and refreshed their drink, got some water, maybe went to the bathroom, and drank some coffee. Alright, we're gonna try and read chapter 13 before the end of the night. So we have a little over an hour. Let's see if we can get through chapter 13 before the end of the night. Coffee sounds great right about now. Do you want some? I can make you a cup. What kind of coffee do you want? I put, just adjusting my hair really quick. It's like in a weird spot. I put a little bit of cinnamon. I like to get, whipped cream and put it at the bottom of the cup and then pour the coffee on top. And then I put cinnamon on top of that and then mix it up together. Black is super fine, thank you. Just black? Okay, I can do that. I'll do a blend of blonde and dark roast. Sorry, medium and dark roast. Sounds delicious. It's very good. It's really good because the whipped cream adds the sugar and it acts like creamer because it just blends into the coffee and it adds a nice like milkiness without being heavy, you know, because too much dairy can give you acne, so you have to be careful with that. Well, I do anyways. Let's go ahead and let's get into that happens with me too. Yeah, ever since I could remember since I was like high school or, you know, I have to be very careful with how much dairy I consume because otherwise I get acne like all over, like in my T-zone. So I have to be very careful with that. So I try not to have too much dairy in a single day. Okay, we are on chapter 13 if you'd like to join us. And you don't have the page. Here we go. I will drop the link into chat. That is the chapter we are on. And so, yeah. Alright. I will eat the dairy for you to protect you. Well, I'm gonna still have some of it. Gaga. You rat. Alright, let's go ahead and let's get into it. Chapter 13, Dr. Seward's Diary, continued. The funeral was arranged for the next succeeding day so that Lucy and her mother might be buried together. I attended to all the ghastly formalities, and the urbane undertaker proved that the staff were afflicted or blessed with something of his own obsequious suavity. Even the women who performed the last offices for the dead remarked to me, in a confidential, brotherly, professional way, that she had come out from the death chamber. She makes a very pretty corpse, sir. It's quite a privilege to attend on her. It's not too much to say that she will do credit to our establishment. I noticed that Van Helsing never kept far away. This was possible from the disordered state of things in the household. There were no relatives at hand, and as Arthur had to be back the next day to attend at his father's funeral, we were unable to notify anyone who should have been bidden. Under the circumstances, Van Helsing and I took it upon ourselves to examine papers, etc. He insisted upon looking over Lucy's papers himself. I asked him why, for I feared that he, being a foreigner, might not be quite aware of English legal requirements, and so might, in ignorance, make some unnecessary trouble. He answered me, I know. You forget that I am a lawyer as well as a doctor, but this is not altogether for the law. You knew that when you avoided the coroner. I have more than him to avoid. There may be papers more, such as this. Zack, hi Zack. As he spoke, he took from his pocketbook the memorandum which had been in Lucy's breast, and which she had torn in her sleep. When you find anything of the solicitor who is for the late Miss Westerner, seal all her papers and write him tonight. For me, I watch here in the room and in Miss Lucy's old room all night, and I myself search for what may be. It is not well that her very thoughts go into the hands of strangers. Sorry, I need to drink some water. I went on with my part to the work, and another half hour had found the name and addresses of Miss Westerner's solicitor, and had written to him. All the poor lady's papers were in order. Explicit directions regarding the place of burial were given. I had hardly sealed the letter when, to my surprise, Van Helsing walked into the room, saying, Can I help you, friend John? I am free, and my service is to you. Have you got what you were looking for? I asked, to which he replied, I did not look for anything specific. I only hope to find, and find I have, that all that there was, only some letters and a few memoranda and a diary new began. But I have them here, and we shall for the present say nothing of them. I shall see the poor lad tomorrow evening, and, with his sanction, I shall use some. When we had finished the work in hand, he said to me, And now, friend John, I think we may bed. We want to sleep, both you and I, and rest to recuperate. Tomorrow we shall have much to do, but for the tonight there is no need for us. Alas. Before turning in, we went to look at poor Lucy. The undertaker had certainly done his work well, for the room was turned into a small chapelle ardente. There was a wilderness of beautiful white flowers, and death was made as little repulsive as might be. The end of the winding sheet was laid over the face. When the professor bent over and turned it gently back, we both stared at the beauty before us, the tall wax candle showing a sufficient light to note it well. All Lucy's loveliness had come back to her in death, and the hours that had passed, instead of leaving traces of decay affecting fingers, had but restored the beauty of life, till positively I could not believe my eyes that I was looking at a corpse. The professor looked sternly grave. He had not loved her as I had, and there was no need for tears in his eyes. He said to me, remain till I return, and left the room. He came back with a handful of wild garlic from the box waiting in the hall, but which had not been opened, and placed the flowers amongst the others and around the bed. Then he took from his neck, inside his collar, a little gold crucifix and placed it over his mouth. He restored the sheet to its place and went, and we came away. I was undressing my own room when a predominatory tap at the door. He entered and at once began to speak. Tomorrow I want you to bring me, before night, a set of post-mortem knives. Must we make autopsy? I asked. Yes and no. I want to operate, but not as you think. Let me tell you now, but not a word to another. I want to cut off her head and take out her heart. You, a surgeon, am so shocked. You, who I have seen with no tremble of hand or heart to operate of life and death that make the rest shudder. Oh, but I must not forget, my dear friend John, that you loved her, and that I have not forgotten it, for it is that shall operate, and you must only help. I would like to do it tonight, but for Arthur I must not. But he will be free after his father's funeral tomorrow, and we will want to see her, to see it. Then, when she is coffined, ready for the next day, you and I shall come when all sleep. We shall unscrew the coffin lid and shall do our operation, and then replace all, so that none know, save we alone. But why do it at all? The girl is dead. Why mutilate the poor body without need? If there is no necessity of post-mortem and nothing gained by it, no good for her, to us, to science, to human knowledge, why do it? Without such it is monstrous. Friend John, I pity your poor bleeding heart, and I love you the more because it does so bleed. If I could, I would take up... Oh, wait, hold on, I missed a line. Thank you for the headpad. Danish! Hi, Danish. Welcome in. I really like your model. Very pretty and green, my favorite color. Green is my favorite color, too. Without such, it is monstrous. For answer, he did put his hand on my shoulder and said with infinite tenderness, Friend John, I pity your poor bleeding heart, and I love you the more because it does so bleed. If I could, I would take it on myself, the burden that you do bear. But there are things that you know not, but that you shall know, and bless me for knowing, though they are not pleasant things. John, my child, you have been my friend now many years, and yet did you ever know me to do any without good cause? I might err, I am but a man, but I believe in all I do. But it's not for these causes that you sent for me when the great trouble came. Yes, you were not amazed, nay, horrified, when I would not let Arthur kiss his love, though she was dying, and snatched him away by all my strength. Yes, and yet you saw how she thanked me, with her so beautiful dying eyes, her voice so weak, and she kissed my rough hands and blessed me. Yes, and did you not hear me swear promise to her, that so she closed her eyes grateful? Yes. Well, I have good reason now for all I want to do. You have for many years trusted me, and you have believed me weeks past, when there be things so strange that you might have well doubt. Believe me yet a little, friend John. If you trust me not, then I must tell you what I think, and that is not perhaps well. And if I work as work I shall, no matter trust or no trust, without my friends' trust in me, I work with heavy heart and feel, oh, so lonely, when it all help and courage that may be. He paused a moment and went on solemnly. Friend John, there are strange and terrible days before us. Let us not be two, but one, so that we work to a good end. Will you not have faith in me? I took his hand and promised him. I held my door open as he went away and watched him go into his room and close the door. As I stood without moving, I saw one of the maids pass silently among the passage. She had her back towards me, so did not see me, and go into the room where Lacey lay. The sight touched me. Devotion is so rare, and we are so grateful to those who show it unmasked to those we love. Here was a poor girl, putting aside the terrors which she naturally had of death, to go watch alone by the bier of the mistress whom she loved, so the poor clay might not be lonely till laid to eternal rest. I must have slept long and soundly, for it was broad daylight when Von Helsing waked me by coming into my room. He came over to the bedside and said, "You need not trouble about the knives. We shall not do it." "Why not?" I asked, for his solemnity of the night before had greatly impressed me. "Because," he said sternly, "it is too late. Oh, too early. See." Here he held out his little gold crucifix. This was stolen in the night. "How stolen?" I asked to wonder, "since you have it now?" "Because I get it back from the worthless wench who stole it, from the woman who robbed the dead and the living. The punishment will surely come, but not through me. She knew not altogether what she did, and thus unknowingly she only stole. Now we must wait." He went away on the word, leaving me with a new mystery to think of, a new puzzle to grapple with. The forenoon was a dreamy time, but at noon the solicitor came, Mr. Marquand, the Holman sons, Marquand and Litterdale. He was very genial and very appreciative of what we had done, and took off our hands all cares as to details. During lunch, he told us that Mrs. Westerna had for some time expected sudden death from her heart, and had put her affairs in absolute order. He informed us that with the exception of a certain entailed property of Lucy's father, which now, in default of direct issue, went back to a distant branch of the family, the whole estate, real and personal, was left absolutely to Arthur Holmwood. When he had told us so much, he went on. "Good night, Grave." "Hi, Zed. Welcome in." Frankly, we did our best to prevent such a testamentary disposition, and pointed out certain contingencies that might leave her daughter either penniless or not so free as she should be so act regarding a matrimonial alliance. Indeed, we pressed the matter so far that we almost came into conclusion, for she had asked if we were or were not prepared to carry out her wishes. Of course, we had then no alternative but to accept. We were right in principle, and 99 times out of 100 we should have proved by the logic of event the accuracy of a judgment. Frankly, however, I must admit that in this case any other form of disposition would have rendered impossible the carrying out of her wishes, for by her preceding her daughter, the later would have come into possession of the property, and, even had she only survived her mother by 5 minutes, her property would, in case there were no will, and will was a practical impossibility in such a case, have been treated at her decease is utter intestacy, in which case Lord Godalming, though so dear a friend, would have no claim to the world. The inheritors, being remote, would not be likely to abandon their just rights for sentimental reasons regarding the entire stranger. I assure you, my dear sirs, I'm rejoicing at the result, perfectly rejoiced. He was a good fellow, but his rejoicing at one little part in which he was officially interested of so great a tragedy was an object lesson in the limitations of sympathetic understanding. He did not remain long, but said, "That whole thing is confusing." 'Cause, like, the lawyer is saying we were trying to tell Lucy's mom not to leave everything to Arthur, who was engaged to Lucy, right? And then he's saying if they do that and something happens where Lucy and Arthur don't get married when the mom dies, or in the, occurrence of the mother's death. But then, like, it's just a really long way of saying that. Anyways, sorry, I just had to really think about that. Okay. He did not remain long, but said he would look in later the day to see Lord Goldming. His coming, however, had been a certain comfort to us, since it assured us that we would not have to dread hostile criticism as to any of our acts. Arthur was expected at 5 o'clock, so a little before that time we visited the death chamber. It was so in very truth, for now both mother and daughter lay in it. The undertaker, true to his craft, had made the best display he could of his goods, and there was a mortuary air about the place that lowered our spirits at once. Van Helsing ordered the former arrangements to be adhered to, explaining that, as Lord Goldming was coming very soon, it would be less harrowing to his feelings to see all that was left of his fiancée quite alone. The undertaker seemed shocked at his own stupidity and exerted himself to restore things to the condition in which we left them the night before, so that when Arthur came, such shocks to his feelings as we could avoid were saved. Huh, wait. Oh, okay, I get it. Poor fellow. He looked desperately sad and broken. Even his stalwart manhood seemed to have shrunk somewhat under the strain of his much tired emotions. He had, I knew, been very genuinely and devotedly attached to his father, and to lose him at such a time was a bitter blow to him. With me, he was warm as ever, and to Van Helsing he was sweetly courteous, but I could not help seeing that there was some constraint within him. The professor noticed it too, and motioned me to bring him upstairs. I did so, and left him at the door of the room, as I felt he would like to be quite alone with her. But he took my arm and led me in, saying huskily, "You loved her too, old fellow. She told me all about it, and there were no friends at a closer place in her heart than you. I don't know how to thank you for all you have done for her. I can't yet think." Here he suddenly broke down and threw his arms around my shoulders and lay his head on my chest, crying, "Jack, oh Jack, what else shall I do? The whole of life seems to have gone from me all at once, and there was nothing in the wide world for me to live for." I comforted him as well as I could. In such cases, men do not need much expression. A grip of the hand, the tightening of an arm over the shoulder, a sob in unison are expressions of sympathy dear to a man's heart. I stood still and silent till his sobs died away, and then I said softly to him, "Come and look at her." Together we moved over to the bed, and I lifted the lawn from her face. God, how beautiful was she! Every hour seemed to be enhancing her loveliness. It frightened and amazed me somewhat, and as for Arthur, he fell a trembling, and finally was shaken with doubt as, with an ague, stalwart, yeah. Morse UX, thanks to the follow. And finally was shaken with doubt, as with an ague, At last, after a long pause, he said to me in a faint whisper, "Jack, is she really dead?" I assured him sadly that it was so, and went on to suggest, for I felt that such a horrible doubt should not have life for a moment longer than I could help, that it often happened that after death faces become softened and even resolved into their youthful beauty, that this was especially so when death had been preceded by an acute or prolonged suffering. It seemed to quite do away with any doubt, and after kneeling beside the couch for a while and looking at her lovingly and longingly, he turned aside. I told him that must be goodbye, as the coffin had to be prepared, so he went back and took her dead hand in his and kissed it, and bent over and kissed her forehead. He came away, fondly looking back over his shoulder at her as he came. I left him in the drawing room and told Van Helsing that he had said goodbye, so the latter went to the kitchen to tell the undertaker's men to proceed with the preparations and to screw up the coffin. When he came out of the room again, I told him of Arthur's question, and he replied, "I'm not surprised. Just now I doubted for a moment myself." We all dined together, and I could see that poor Art was trying to make the best of things. Van Helsing had been silent all dinner time, but when he had lit our cigars, he said, "Lord," but Arthur interrupted him. No, not that, for God's sake, not yet at any rate. "Forgive me, sir, I did not mean to speak offensively, it is only because my loss is so recent." The professor answered very sweetly, "I only used that name because I was in doubt. I must not call you Mr., and I have grown to love you. Yes, my dear boy, I love you as Arthur." Arthur held out his hand and took the old man's warmly. "Call me what you will," he said. "I hope I may always have a title of a friend, and let me say that I am at a loss for words to thank you for your goodness to my poor dear." He paused a moment and went on, "I know that she understood your goodness even better than I do, and if I was rude or in any way wanting a time you acted so, you remember," the professor nodded, "you must forgive me." He answered with a grave kindness, "I know it was hard for you to quite trust me then, for to trust such violence needs to understand, and I take it that you do not, but you cannot trust me now, for you do not yet understand. There may be more times when I shall want you to trust when you cannot, and may not, and must not yet understand. But the time will come when your trust shall be whole and complete in me, and when you shall understand as though the sunlight himself shone through. You shall bless me from first to last for your own sake, and for the sake of others, and for her sake, to whom I swore to protect." "And indeed, sir," said Arthur warmly, "I shall and always trust you. I know and believe that you have a very noble heart, and that you are Jack's friend, and you are and hers. You shall do what you like." The professor cleared his throat a couple times, as though about to speak, and finally said, "May I ask you something now?" "Certainly. You know that Miss Westenra left you all her property?" "No, poor dear, I never thought of it." "And as it is all yours, you have a right to deal with it as you will. I want you to give me permission to read all Miss Lucy's papers and letters. Believe me, it is no idle curiosity. I have a motive of which, be sure, she would have approved. I have them all here. I took them before we knew what all was yours, so that no strange hand might touch them, no strange eye look through words into her soul. I shall keep them, if I may, even if you may not see them yet, but I shall keep them safe. No word shall be lost, and in the good time I shall give them back to you. It's a hard thing I ask, but you will do it, will you not, for Lucy's sake?" Arthur spoke heartily, like his old self. "Dr. Van Helsing, you may do what you will. I feel that in saying this I'm doing what my dear one would have approved. I shall not trouble you with questions till the time comes." The old professor stood up as he said solemnly, "And you are right. There will be pain for us all, but it will not be pain, nor will this pain be the last. We, and you too, you most of all, my dear boy, will have to pass through the bitter water before we reach the sweet. And we must be brave of heart and unselfish, and do our duty, and all will be well. I slept on a sofa in Arthur's room that night. Von Helsing did not go to bed at all. He went to and fro as if patrolling the house, and was never out of sight of the room where Lucy lay in her coffin, strewn with the wild garlic flowers, which sent, through the odor of lily and rose, a heavy, overpowering smell into the night. Okay, let's see how much more. Oh, not too much more. Okay. Water time. Mina Harker's journal, 22nd of September. In the train to Exeter, Jonathan sleeping. It seems only yesterday the last entry was made, and yet now much between then and Whitby and all the world before me. Jonathan away and no news of him, and now marrying to Jonathan. Jonathan a solicitor, a partner, rich, master of his business. Mr. Hawkins dead and buried, and Jonathan with another attack that may harm him. Some day he may ask me about it. Down it all goes. I am rusty in my shorthand, see what unexpected prosperity does for us. So it may be as well so freshen it up again with an exercise anyhow. The service was very simple and very solemn. There were only ourselves and the servants there. One or two old friends from his Exeter, his London agent, and a gentleman representing Sir Jonathan Paxton, the president of the Incorporated Law Society. Jonathan and I stood hand in hand, and we felt that our best and dearest friend was gone from us. We came back to town quietly, taking a bus to Hyde Park Corner. Jonathan thought it would interest me to go to the Row for a while, so we sat down. But there were very few people there, and it was sad looking and desolate to see so many empty chairs. It made us think of the empty chair at home, so we got up and walked down Piccadilly. Jonathan was holding me by the arm, the way he used to in old days before I went to school. I felt it very improper, for you can't go on for some years teaching etiquette and decorum to other girls with the pedantry of it biting into yourself a bit. But it was Jonathan, and he was my husband, and we didn't know anybody who saw us. We didn't care if they did. And so we walked. I was looking at a very beautiful girl in a big cartwheel hat, sitting in a Victoria outside Giuliano's, when I felt Jonathan clutch my arm so tight that he hurt me, and he said under his breath, "My God." I'm always anxious about Jonathan, for I fear that some nervous fit may upset him again, so I turned to him quickly and asked him what it was that disturbed him. He was very pale, and his eyes seemed bulging out as half in terror and half in amazement. He gazed at a tall, thin man with a beaky nose and black mustache and pointed beard, who was also observing the pretty girl. He was looking at her so hard that he did not see either of us, and so I had a good view of him. His face was not a good face. It was hard and cruel and sensual, and his big white teeth that looked all the whiter because his lips were so red were pointed like an animal's. Jonathan kept staring at him till I was afraid he would notice. I feared he might take it ill. He looked so fierce and nasty. I asked Jonathan why he was disturbed, and he answered, evidently thinking that I knew as much about it as he did. "Do you not see who it is?" "No, dear," I said. "I don't know him. Who is he?" He answered. His answer seemed to shock and thrill me, for it was said as if he did not know that it was me, Mina, to whom he was speaking. "It's the man himself." It is the man himself. The poor dear was evidently terrified at something. Very greatly terrified. I do believe that if he had not had me to lean on to support him, he would have sunk down. He kept staring. A man came out of the shop with a small parcel and gave it to the lady, who then drove off. The dark man kept his eyes fixed on her, and when the carriage moved up Piccadilly, he followed in the same direction, and hailed and handsome. Jonathan kept looking after him and said, as if to himself, I believe it is the Count. But he has grown young. My God, if this be so. Oh my God, if I only knew. He was distressing himself so much that I feared to keep his mind on the subject by asking him any question, so I remained silent. I drew him away quietly, and he, holding my arm, came easily. We walked a little further, and then went in and sat for a while in the Green Park. It was a hot day for autumn. There was a comfortable seat in a shady place. After a few minutes staring at nothing, Jonathan's eyes closed, and he went quietly into his sleep, with his head on my shoulder. I thought it was best thing for him, so I did not disturb him. In about 20 minutes he woke up and said to me quite cheerfully, What, Mina? Have I been asleep? Oh, do forgive me for being so rude. Come, and we'll have a cup of tea somewhere. He had evidently forgotten all about the dark stranger in his illness. He had forgotten all about the episode and remained... He had evidently forgotten all about the dark stranger. As in his illness, he had forgotten all that this episode had reminded him of. I don't like this lapsing into forgetfulness. It may make or continue some injury to the brain. I must not ask him, for fear I shall do more harm than good. But I must know that I must somehow learn the facts of his journey abroad. The time has come, I fear, when I must open that parcel and know what is written. Oh, Jonathan, you will, I know, forgive me if I do wrong, but it is for your own dear sake. Later. A sad homecoming in every way. The house empty of the dear soul who was so good to us. Jonathan, still pale and dizzy after a slight relapse of his malady, and now a telegram from Van Helsing, whoever he may be. You'll be grieved to hear that Miss Westenra died 5 days ago, and that Lucy died the day before yesterday. They were both buried today. Oh, what a wealth of sorrow in a few words. Poor Miss Westenra, poor Lucy, gone never to return to us, and poor Arthur, to have lost such sweetness out of his life. God help us all to bear our troubles. Dr. Seward's Diary, 22nd of September. It is all over. Arthur has gone back to Ring and has taken Quincy Morris with him. What a fine fellow is Quincy. I believe in all my heart of hearts that he suffered as about Lucy's death as any of us, but he bore himself through it like a moral Viking. If America can go on breeding men like that, she'll be a power in the world indeed. Van Helsing is lying down, having a rest preparatory for his journey. He goes over to Amsterdam tonight, but says he returns tomorrow night, that he only wants to make some arrangements which can only be made personally. He is to stop with me then, if he can, and says he has work to do in London, which may take him some time. Poor fellow, I fear that the strain of the past week had broken down even his iron strength. All the time at the burial he was, I could see, putting some terrible restraint on himself. When it was all over, we were standing beside Arthur, who, poor fellow, was speaking of his part of the operation where his blood had been transferred into his Lucy's veins. I could see Van Helsing's face grow white and purple by turns. Arthur was saying that he felt since then as if they two had been really married and that she was his wife in the sight of God. None of us said a word of the other operations, and none of us ever shall. Arthur and Quincy went away together at the station, and Von Helsing and I came here. The moment we were alone in the carriage, he gave way to a regular fit of hysterics. He had denied to me since that it was hysterics, and instead that it was only his sense of humor asserting itself under very terrible conditions. He laughed till he cried, and I had to draw down the blinds lest anyone should see us and misjudge. And then he cried till he laughed again, and laughed and cried together, just as a woman does. I hate that line. Okay. I tried to be stern with him, as one is to a woman under the circumstances, but it had no effect. Men and women are so different in manifestations of nervous strength or weakness. Then, when his face grew grave and stern again, I asked him why his mirth, why at such a time. His reply was in a way characteristic of him, for it was logical and forceful and mysterious. He said, right? Good night, Sango. Have a good sleep. Rest well. Sexism. I know, right? A Magan in our Dracula? That's crazy. Okay. He said, you don't comprehend, friend John. Do not think that I am not sad, though I laugh. See, I have cried even when the laughter choked me. But no more think that I am all sorry when I cry, for the laugh he comes, just the kiss, just the same. Keep it always with you that laughter who knocks at your door may say, may I come in? Is not the true laughter. No, he is a king, and when he comes when and how he likes. He asks no person, he choose no time of suitability. He say, I am here. Behold, an example I grieve my heart for that so sweet young girl. I give my blood to her, though I am an old and worn. I give my time, my skill, my sleep. I let my other sufferers want, so that she may have all, and yet I can laugh at her very grave. Laugh when the clay from the spade of the sexton dropped under her coffin, and say, thud, thud to my heart, till it sent back the blood from my cheek. My heart bled for that poor boy, that dear boy, so of the age of mine own boy, that I had been so blessed that he live, and with his hair and eyes the same. There you know now why I love him so. And yet when he say things that touch my husband heart to the quick, and make my father heart yearn to him as no other man, not even you, friend John, for we are more level in experiences than father and son. Yet even at such moment, King laugh, he come to me and shout and bellow in my ear, here I am, till the blood come dance back and bring some of the sunshine that he carry with him onto my cheek. Oh, friend John, it is a strange world, a sad world, a world full of miseries and woes and troubles, and yet the King laugh come, he make all the dance to the tune he play. Bleeding hearts and dry bones of the churchyard, and tears that burn as they fall, all dance together to the music that make with the smileless mouth of him. And believe me, friend John, that he is good to come and kind. We men and women are like ropes drawn tight with strain that pulls us different ways. Then tears come, and like the rain on the ropes, they brace us up until perhaps the strain become too great and we break. But King laugh, he come like the sunshine, and he ease off the strain again, and we bear to go on with our labor, what it may be. I did not like to wound him by pretending not to see his idea, but as I did not yet understand the cause of his laughter, I asked him, and he asked me. His face grew stern, and he said in quite a different tone, it was the grim irony of it all. This so lovely lady, garlanded with flowers, that looked so fair as life, till one by one we wondered if she were truly dead. She laid in that so fine marble house, in that lonely churchyard, where rest so many of her kin, laid there with the mother who loved her and whom she loved, and that sacred bell going toll, 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 so sad and slow, and those holy men with the white garments of an angel pretending to read books, and yet all the time their eyes never on the page, and all of us with a bowed head. All for what? She is dead, so is it not? Well, for the life of me, Professor, I said, I can't see anything to laugh in all that. Why, your explanation makes it harder puzzle than before, but even if the burial service was comic, what about poor Art and his troubles? Why, his heart was simply breaking. Just so. He said not the transfusion of his blood to her veins made her truly his bride. Yes, and it was a sweet and comforting idea for him. Quite so. But there was a difficulty, friend John. If so that, then what about the others? Then this so sweet maid is a polyandrist with me, with my poor wife dead to me, but alive by church's law, though no wits all gone. Even I, who am faithful husband to his now no wife, am bigamist. I don't see where the joke comes in there either, I said, and do not feel particularly pleased with him for saying such things. He laid his hand on my arm and said, Friend John, forgive me. If I pain, I showed not my feelings to other when I would wound, but only to you, my friend, whom I can trust. If you can have looked into my very heart, then when I want to laugh, if you could have done so when the laugh arrived, if you could do so now when King Laugh have packed up his ground and all that is to him, while he goes so far, far away from me for a long, long time, maybe you will perhaps pity me the most of all. I was touched by the tenderness of his tone and asked, why? Because I know. And now we are all scattered. For many a long day loneliness will sit over our roofs with brooding wings. Lucy lies in the tomb of her kin, a lordly death house in a lonely churchyard. Away from teeming London, where their air is fresh and the sun rises over Hampstead Hill, and where wildflowers grow of their own accord. So I can finish this diary, and God only knows if I shall ever begin another. If I do, or even if I do, or if I even open this again, it will be to deal with different people, different themes, or here at the end, where the romance of my life is told. Ere I go back to take up the thread of my life work, I say sadly, and without hope, finis. The Westminster Gazette, September 25th. A Hampstead Mystery. Off to bed, my throat has been killing me all day and I think I'm getting sick. Have a good rest of the stream. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about it. Yeah, go get some good sleep. Good night, good night. Hopefully you get some good rest. I'm so sorry you're not feeling well. We are nearly done. We have just a little bit more. Oh, let's do a quick stretch. Stretch your arms up and slowly bring them down. Tilt your head. And tilt your head. All right. A Hampstead Mystery. The neighborhood of Hampstead is just at present exercised with a series of events which seem to run on lines parallel to those of what was known to the writers of headlines as the Kensington Horror, or the Stabbing Woman, or the Woman in Black. During the past 2 or 3 days, several cases have occurred of young children straying from home or neglecting to return from their playing on the heath. In all these cases, the children were too young to give any properly intelligible account of themselves, but the consequences of their excuses is that they had been with a bloofer lady. It has always been late in the evening when they had been missed, and on 2 occasions the children have not been found until early in the following morning. It is generally supposed in the neighborhood that, as the first child missed gave as his reasons for being away that a bloofer lady had asked him to come for a walk. The others had picked up the phrase and used it as occasion served. This is the more natural, as the favorite game of the little ones at present is luring each other away by wiles. A correspondent writes to us that these some tiny tots pretending to be the boofer lady is supremely funny. Some of our caricatures might, he says, take a lesson in the irony of grotesque by comparing the reality and the picture. It is only in accordance with general principles of human nature that the bloofer lady should be the popular role at these alfresco performances. Our correspondent naively says that even Ellen Terry could not be so winningly attractive as some of these grubby-faced little children pretend, and even imagine themselves to be. There is, however, possibility a serious side to the question, for some of the children, indeed all who have been missed at night, have been slightly torn or wounded in the throat. The wounds seem as much be made by a rat or small dog, and although not much importance individually, will tend to show that whatever animal inflicting them has a system or method of its own. The police of the division have been instructed to keep sharp lookout for straying children, especially when very young, in and around Hampstead Heath, and for any stray dog which may be around. The Westminster Gazette, 25th of September, so this is the same day, extra special. The Hampstead Horror, another child injured. The boofer lady. We have just received intelligence that another child, missed last night, was only discovered late in the morning under the furze bush at the Shooter's Hillside of Hampstead Heath, which is, perhaps, less frequented than the other parts. It has the same tiny wound in the throat and has been noticed in other cases. It was terribly weak and looked quite emaciated. It, too, when partially restored, had the common story to tell of being lured away by the boofer lady. And that is the end of chapter 13. So it looks like someone is nomming on children. Let's see, we're on chapter 14. So there you go. We're on chapter 14 now. That's terrifying, right? Poor kids. Imagine being a parent, right? And all these kids come home spouting the same story about someone called the boofer lady, right? And they're like literally attacking just the kids, just the littles. That'd be so, I would be so worried for just every child. I'm like, even if it wasn't my child, you know what I mean? It'd just be so scary. Hope all is well. Hi Chef, welcome in, how are you? How's your night? Hope you're doing well. We just finished chapter 13, yeah. We did chapter 12 and chapter 13 tonight of Dracula. Doing well, thank you. Yeah, hi Chef. Thank you for the check-in. Liquid, thank you for the daily coffee order. Fel, Zach, thank you for the daily coffee order. Isongo, thank you for the daily coffee order. Zed, thank you for the daily coffee order. Noberto, I'm so sorry. Thank you for the daily coffee order. And Chef, thank you for the daily coffee order. Welcome in, welcome in. Info, thank you for the headpad. Okay. I think this is a good time to end for the night. I know normally we go for about 4 hours, but I think we're pretty good. I think that's a good place to end. So let's find somebody to raid on into. You know what? We've never really been able to raid into. Let's see if they're going to be streaming for a bit longer. Okay, looks like... Yeah, okay. Looks like Hyacinth is gonna be streaming for just a bit longer. Morning. Good morning, Nipa. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. We're actually gonna get ready to raid on out and for the night. Everybody that hung out over on YouTube, thank you so much for hanging out. And I will see you next Monday.